Eoin Sheahan is not in a bar. Where are you?
Welcome to Fukuroi, boys. This is a town in Shizuoka. This is where the game is. This is where the game is going to take place tomorrow afternoon between Ireland and Japan. I hope you're both well. By the way, very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Owen. Owen, I was just talking to Adrian earlier on about you. I've known you quite a number of years now, Owen. I wouldn't necessarily see it as very open and very open to the culture of Japan. How have you got on out there?
What?
I'm just asking the question. I'm just asking. I think you're a bit of a closed shop, Owen. That was all I was suggesting to Adrian earlier on.
Hugely insulting. I always indulge in different cultures all around the world, Kevin. I am a man of the world, and I find that frankly disturbing that you would suggest such a thing about.
Why disturbing? I'm just it's just an observation.
It flies in the face of my personality, Kev.
Right. Sorry. Okay.
Borderline libelous, to be quite honest with you. Just because you've indulged in ice skating does not mean that you're allowed to indulge in slagging off people who may not be indulging in things themselves. No, I've enjoyed the Japanese culture. How many ice skating jokes have actually been made? I'm sorry for being behind the curve there on that one, but I'm enjoying kind of the immersion into Japanese culture here. A huge amount. It was a small bit of a culture shock going straight in at the deep end, which was Tokyo here, but down here in Shizuoka, which is far more rural, it's a little bit of a slower pace. It's easier to get used to Japanese mannerisms and kind of conversing with people down here. I've definitely spoken to more Japanese people down here than I have done at any point in Chiba or Yokohama or Tokyo, and probably dined a bit more in terms of their local cuisine and all that sort of stuff down here as well. So it's a slower pace down here, and it's a fantastic country. I mean, you were here for a tournament as well. 17 years ago at this point, Kevin? You would have immersed yourself in it plenty as well at that point. You know how good the people are here. You know how great a country it is, and especially for the Irish supporters, I'd say this has been some trip. I'd say they are having an amazing time over here if they're here to fully enjoy themselves.
No, clearly I was joking, Owen. Don't take yourself too seriously. That's all I'm saying to you. But no,
it's okay. Don't worry. Just slander. That's all.
Okay. No, it's been good. I've enjoyed watching your videos. I have to say that as well. We'll talk about it as well. But just in relation to everything they say, you know, the madness. When we were there in 2002, it was we were just part of a camp, and it was crazy in the hotels, everything. We used to have about, it seemed like 10,000 people every time we left the hotel and came back into the hotel. It was madness everywhere. Obviously not that many people, but it just seemed that way the whole time. But do you sense that around hotels, around the squad and the madness, or has it been a little bit more low key around the Irish squad themselves, Owen?
It's definitely been more low-key in comparison with other teams. Like, we saw the 15,000 people show up to watch Wales train a couple of weeks ago. We've seen huge fanfare, naturally, around the All Blacks. The greatest thing we've seen here, really, is just being in Yokohama in their hotel when there was somebody playing Ireland's Call on the harp, and all the staff came over and gave a guard of honour applauding the team as they came in and out of the hotel almost every day. That's the kind of level we've got to here. So nothing insane. I think there's two reasons for that. I think maybe people have been focused on the All Blacks. They were in the same city as Ireland at that time. But then also from your experience as well, like a football World Cup, I would say, really took over the entire country. Whereas here we've just got pockets. Like down there, you can see the town behind me. There is signs up outside the train station, but it's a fairly quiet town. There is not much happening here. There isn't a sense that this is a festival of rugby. That being said, on match day, it does feel like that. I mean, the Ireland was insane in certain parts of Yokohama last week. Same with the New Zealand All Blacks game, or New Zealand South Africa game, especially before the game last week in Yokohama. So on match day, you've got these really intense, energetic hubs of sports fans. That'll be the same this weekend, and I think this weekend the Irish fans will be doing day trips down here to Shizuoka because you can get the bullet train down in an hour and a half, 2 hours tops. So I don't want to slag this place up too much. I think on a standalone basis, it's a pretty nice place. But if you're only 2 hours up the road from Tokyo, you're probably going to take the bullet train down to Tokyo and do the day trip. So unfortunately for this place, we haven't got a full field this week. I just saw 2 Irish fans walk by a moment ago. That probably represents about 20% of the Irish fans that I've seen in the last 4 days.
So you've been out at the captain's run this morning, on at the press conference. What's been going on?
So at the captain's run this morning, everybody trained. Jack Conan didn't train, so the standing on his foot in training this week is obviously keeping him out of any action, even in warm-ups and stuff like that. They put out Robbie Henshaw onto the pitch in the captain's run this morning. Then for media, we had Greg Feek, we had Peter O'Mahony, and we had Gary Ringrose. Plenty of talk, as you mentioned there a while ago. It's on some of the back pages about the referee this week. But today was more about the Japanese comments about the Ireland scrum. You said, Adrian, that we haven't heard so much talk about stepping left in a scrum ever. I'd agree with you. It's been the kind of the phrase of the hour this week. And Greg Feek being up this morning, it naturally came up a couple of times. But he put out the line that really Yusuke Kizu is a young player. He doesn't really know how to deal with the media. And that's why that came up. Ireland are very focused on their discipline when it came to the scrum. There was also questions about consistency and selection in certain areas of the pitch, and then tons and tons and tons of questions about the Japanese scrum. I've been reliably informed that Japanese journalists work in a different way to Irish journalists, as in they tend to write a number of different pieces on the same subject. So in the Irish media, you would have your article on the Irish scrum, and that would be your quotes, whereas in Japan you'd have 4 different articles on the scrum. So therefore the journalists keep asking what seems to be very repetitive questions. So Greg Feek got bombarded this morning with questions about Japan scrum, giving the same answer pretty much every time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It feels as if it's been a very interesting talk about during the week that'll probably have absolutely no bearing whatsoever on the game at all. But we've nothing else to talk about, so sure, why not? You are just outside the stadium, by the way. You're going to give us a bit of a mini tour, are you?
Yeah, we'll do that now. I'm going to turn around the camera so we can do that, and we
what
can
possibly
walk
go wrong
up
here,
these.
Oh yeah, there you go.
What could possibly go wrong here? So welcome to the Coppa Stadium.
Oh, that's class, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Wembley Way. So this was built in 2001, a year before the 2002 Football World Cup. Hosted a couple of big games in 2002, namely the massive one that knocked England out of the World Cup. It's where England versus Brazil took place when Ronaldinho lobbed that ball over David Seaman's head to knock England out of the World Cup. There's a good complex here as well. You've got an arena there to the left-hand side. As you can see, the stadium there, though, directly in front of us, there's a big sporting complex all around it, newly built, as I say, 18 years ago. This, Fukuroi, is going to be the place where Ireland's Olympians are based before the Olympics get underway next year. So they're going to come to the south of Japan for their training work, for their strength and conditioning, for their camp, before things get underway in the Japanese capital next year. But yes, as you say, Wembley Way, Shizuoka Way, the Shizuoka Stride, I want to call it, walking up to the stadium. This is what the Ireland fans will be doing tomorrow afternoon, coming up to the 4:15 local time kickoff here in Shizuoka. Oh,
I'm going to ask you pretty much of a mundane question in relation to weather over there as well. I know we've seen a lot of the bad weather coming in, but going back to when we were there, maybe I know it's a summertime, it probably is a little bit cooler, but the whole part of our plan to go to Saipan and then back on to Japan was in relation to getting acclimatised to the heat and things like that. When we got to Japan, it actually felt quite cool while all the Irish fans were coming over chatting to us saying this place is ridiculously hot. Does it feel that way to you? Is it humid? Is it hot? What's it like when you're out there moving about the cities?
Yeah, down here it is, Kev, to be honest with you. I thought I'd been acclimatised to the Japanese weather quite well after going to Tokyo. But really, down here in the south, with the mountains all around you, it is just a whole new level of humid. You guys were actually in the same place as the Ireland team trained. You were in Chiba as well. Was that before your final group game, I think. So that's right by the coast, I guess. It's just more breezy. It's less humid, just being surrounded by the mountains here.
Sorry, we were based there totally throughout. When we got to Japan, we had a training base once we arrived back in from Saipan, and then we were based a lot of the tournament before we went to South Korea in Chiba, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where the Ireland team were at the start, and I think they probably became acclimatised to that a little bit. I certainly did, and I thought, well, this is manageable. On game day, I'd imagine it would have been tough for them, but it was doable. This is going to be a whole new level. I will say, however, the temperatures have dipped over the last couple of days, and there's a coolish breeze developing. If it goes according to trend, tomorrow could even see some rainfall. There are clouds overhead, and I wouldn't be surprised to see rain at all. Yesterday was an absolute scorcher. It was well over 30 degrees Celsius, and it felt every degree like it. And the players were out there training it. Peter O'Mahony in the captain's run today, he was after a fairly tough session, you'd imagine, which isn't usually the case for the captain's run, but it is to do with the conditions out there today. So it's going to be tough, and I would imagine there is a reason behind Japan wanting to play Ireland right here in Shizuoka.
Yeah, we're almost 24 hours out, obviously, from the game, and just over 24 hours out from the thing that I think most people are looking forward to most this weekend will be Eoin Sheahan's second Vox Pop, post-match Vox Pop.
Oh, great work. That's the best bit of journalism you're ever likely to do. That was just tremendous stuff.
What are you going to have for us tomorrow?
I'm not sure will we have that level. If it stays dry, probably nothing of that level. The only reason that happened was because it was lashing and I needed to find some respite from a train station. Couldn't do a piece with Alan Quinlan. He had to go back because I got lost outside the stadium looking for shelter. But if you've got plenty of outdoor places to do proper interviews tomorrow, then the fans might have to wait. But I will try my best to get to the train station, which was in the previous shot, about 15 minutes that way. We'll see if the Ireland fans are hanging. I'm not going to lie, I was looking out for a few watering holes around here. There is one very country club looking restaurant down there, but not a whole pile else. A good burger joint. Other than that, I'm not sure what they're going to do. They might be having to pay for €10 beers from the local vendors here that actually pop up on match day.
There has to be a Dubliner or something like that, hasn't there?
Whatever your plans are post-match tomorrow on that aren't to do with doing a Vox Pop, scrap them.
Yeah.
Just do that.
There is a Dubliner. There is a Dubliner, all right, in Hamamatsu, which is the town I'm staying in. But as I said, there's no Ireland fans in there. I think they're all going to be going straight back up to Tokyo tomorrow after the game. So I'll need to be quick. I'll need to be quick on my feet after press conferences to go and catch them afterwards tomorrow. So hopefully they'll hang around. It's not exactly a great feeling having to get straight back on the train after a game. I'd certainly like to hang around for a couple of hours. So hopefully the Irish rugby fans share my feeling on that. I would say that we will have a whole new energy to the Irish fans next week when Ireland move down to Kobe. Because obviously it's in a far more attractive part of the country. You can get to Osaka and you can get to Kyoto in a very short bullet train journey indeed. And then the last place is Fukuoka, which has got beautiful islands down there. It's close to Nagasaki as well. There's tons to do. Whereas here, again, I don't want to bash the place because it is a relatively nice place. Just in comparison to other Irish locations, this is probably the least attractive tourist destination. So it might be a little more tame tomorrow compared to Yokohama and Kobe and Fukuoka. But I'll do my very best, lads.
The Jack Conan situation, Owen, just give us a small recap on that, if you will. What's the only one who didn't train today? What's his prognosis?
Someone stood on his foot in training yesterday.
And
that's
is it
the prognosis?
Just a rest up and he'll be fine?
Yeah, it seemed that way. It seemed that with the way Schmidt was talking yesterday, it was almost a situation where O'Mahony was just more fit rather than Conan being completely ruled out. But if he didn't take fully in training today, then obviously he wasn't anywhere near being match ready. So it's a bit of a concern. That'll roll into next week for sure. So there is definitely a question mark over him at the moment, Jack Conan. But as I say, it seemed like something innocuous. Someone just stood on his foot. That was the literal explanation yesterday in the press conference. I think in my article I said he received studs to foot, just to make it sound a little bit more technical.
So yeah, we're going to hear from the press conference a bit later on. We'll be hearing lots of that reaction, I'm sure. And also a little bit later on, the very first instalment, Kev, of a brand new item that's going to run over the course of the World Cup called Sheahan Sushi.
Yeah.
Where Owen eats some sushi and chases cats around the park. I've seen it. It's good.
I'm not sure about the name Sheahan Sushi, but it certainly fits into the Adrian Barry lexicon, I'll give you that.
What was it? What the fish looked? You went straight in for it, didn't you? To be fair, you were very adventurous. I wouldn't have had that Kev sort of conservatism at all. And other cultures, you went Jesus headlong into it.
Yeah, it is. As I say, I was down in Shizuoka City there the other day. It says, I'm down here in a pier. What better place to get some sushi when you can actually see the water in front of you? So get ready for the freshest dollop of sushi you're ever likely to see on this week's edition of something that's not called Sheahan Sushi. Please don't do this to me.
The last question from me is Bomber Liston. Where does his nickname come from?
Oh, great question. I have no idea.
We'd Bernard Brogan in during the week, and Bomber retweeted it with Photo Bomber caption on it from your poster that's behind your picture that's behind Kev there. I googled it, right? I googled where did the nickname come from, and it says from the hat-trick he scored against the Dubs in the '78 final that it was after that. But the most interesting thing that came up when I googled it was the BBC headline, and I'd absolutely totally forgotten about this. It was almost a year to the week when this happened. GEA star Owen Bomber Liston sparks alert on plane.
Oh, I've heard.
Remember that?
That was a great story. Yeah. What a great story, isn't it?
It caused an incident when he was travelling on a plane from Cardiff to Cork last weekend. A cabin crew member on the flight became alarmed when she heard a fellow passenger calling out, "Bomber!" to the 7-time All-Ireland winner. We should remind ourselves of that story with regularity. Owen, fair play, thanks a million.
Great stuff, lads. Chat to you soon.
Man. Take it easy.